Hey, party people. Listen, I want to come in today and talk to you about just some strange things that, for some reason, Christians believe that. I don't know where these doctrines is coming from. I really don't. They're all kind of new. But you know what? I hear all the time Christians say, the commandments and the laws and the statutes, those are for Israel. They're not for the Gentiles. Gentiles didn't have to follow any laws. They don't have any laws. I think that's really crazy because the truth of the matter is the Gentiles are people who are grafted into the Israelite family. They're grafted into it. They're saying, hey, I want to follow your God. I want to be a part of your family. So if you're trying to be a part of a person's family, there's rules in the family that you have to follow. Like in the United States, they have a program called the Foreign Exchange Program. This is when students, I think high school and college students, I know it's college, but it could be high school too. But there's people in another country who want to come and have an experience of going to school here in the United States. Why? I don't know. But they just had that. They want to do this. This is something that they want to do. So they participate in what's called the Foreign Exchange Program. And that means some people over here, some families over here have agreed to allow a foreign exchange student to come and live with them for however long. Probably, I think it's like 3 months, a semester. They come and they live with them. So when the foreign exchange student first arrives, the family will set down the rules of their house, of their family. They'll say, okay, in our house, this is when we get up. This is how we clean our bedrooms. We make our beds in this house as part of our family rule. We eat breakfast together at this time, and we eat dinner together at this time, and we clean up and, whatever we do. And then we go to bed at this time. And, they give them the rules. And in this house, you can't drink, or in this house you can't smoke, whatever it is that they have as their family rule. So when the foreign exchange student comes and lives with this family and becomes a part of this family for however long he or she is here, they have to abide by the rules of that family, the rules of their household. They can't say, well, I'm not in your family, so I don't have to follow these rules. These rules don't apply to me because I'm not really a part of your family. But you have the desire to be a part of that person's family for the time that you are living in their household. So you have to abide by their rules. It's the same thing. If you're a Gentile and you're going to be grafted into the family of Israel, then you follow the rules and the regulations of Israel. You don't just make up your own rule and say, we're Gentiles, we don't have to follow that. And they all base that off of Paul saying, don't let anybody judge you by what holidays or what you do or what you think. And the thing is, you can't take things out of context. Paul was talking to new converts who somebody else had came to their church and was telling them about these rules that they hadn't heard of it yet. And he was just saying, he wants them to stay focused and not give up because they don't know these rules. So he said, don't concern yourself with those right now. But Paul kept them. So he didn't think anything was wrong with it. He wasn't saying that we don't do it. He kept all the laws and commandments. He traveled to be where he had to be during the holy days. He kept the Sabbath. He did everything they were supposed to do. He just was telling them because they were new converts. He didn't say, don't ever do these things. He's teaching them. He's training them. He's giving. They say you give babies milk until they can get to the meat. So they were on milk. So they weren't at the meat section yet. So they didn't have to know these things yet because they weren't there yet. So that's basically people just take things out of context. You know what? I'm just going to lay it straight. This Messiah said that he didn't come here to get rid of the law. And he said not until the end of the earth, really, with the law's end. You know who has the law that there's no law? See, Christians seem to think that it's lawlessness. I guess the only person who has lawlessness is Satan. He has one law. His law is do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. That's his law. That's it. Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. So if you're saying that there's no laws, then maybe you're not following the right God. Because God has a lot of laws and statutes and commandments that he gave to us to follow. Now, if you're saying that your God has no laws, and you don't have to abide by anything because you're a Gentile and not part of Israel, then maybe you're following the God who has no laws. And that's Satan. He's the one who says, do what thou wilt. That's the whole of the law. And if you think you can do whatever you want, then maybe you're following the God with the little g and not the God with the big G. And as a matter of fact, that's why you shouldn't even be following any God. You should say his name. His name is Yahweh. You should say his name, because otherwise you could be following any God and thinking you're following the correct God. But people, there are laws. We have commandments. And grace, let me tell you what grace means, because I can do a whole show on grace. Grace means that now that the Messiah died for us, we are under grace. And that means that if I sin, I can confess my sin, I can repent, and I could ask forgiveness for that sin, and I'll be forgiven. I don't have to go buy 2 doves and a ram and bring them to a temple and have the priest put them on the altar and sacrifice them in order to be forgiven, because Yahushua is the sacrificial lamb now. So my sins are forgiven if I ask him to forgive me, if I confess and repent. Repent means not do it again. So if I confess and repent from my sin and ask for forgiveness, grace will allow me to be forgiven without me having to go, buy some pigeons and put them on an altar and find some place, because you can't even do that now because the temple no longer exists. But that's what your grace is for. Grace allows you to speak and ask for forgiveness and repent. Remember that part, because if you think there's no laws and you breaking all the laws, you go around killing people and stealing, and just because you believe in Jesus, you think that you can that you're saved and that nothing gonna happen because one time you said the sinner's prayer. So you're under strong delusion. All right. So yes, we do have things that we have to do, and one of the things that people seem to have the worst problem with is the Sabbath. I don't understand why. What's so hard about resting one day of the week? I don't get that part, because they do what the Pharisees did. They add a whole bunch of other stuff to it and worry about what day of the week to worship. You should worship every day, every minute. You should always worship. There's no set aside day to worship. But on the 7th day, Sabbath, you should rest. That's it. It's not a hard thing to do. But that's what it is. I just wanted to come and chit chat, talk to you today. Have a blessed one.